Hey, I'm Court Green, and this is another episode of Meat on Mondays. I'm going to start by showing you what we're making today. What we're making today is actually what most people start out when they're cooking venison and making. It's because it's kind of easy, and it's good, and it's kind of hard to mess up. So what we're going to be working with is backstraps. Now, these are the muscles that this is half of one. So it's like the whole thing, it runs the whole length of the deer from its shoulders down to almost its hips. And they run, I can't show you on me because I can't, but if you imagine your spine is right here, then on each side of the deer's spine, and we have them too, is a little cord looking muscle. So these things are running down their spines, and they're there, and they do whatever the job is that they do. I guess they kind of keep the deer standing, but they're delicious. And so what we're going to do, I'm going to give you the rundown on it, and then I'm going to start doing it, is first I'm going to cut off all of this fat, which is this stuff right here. I'm going to cut off this silvery stuff right here, any of the other stuff that I don't want on there. And then I'm going to slice it into, we call them medallions. I'm going to go this way, across it, and I'm going to do it about 1.5 inches, just a little bit wider than a strip of bacon. I'm going to wrap bacon around it, and we're going to grill it up. And so I hope you enjoy. And next time you see me, I'll have a knife and a cutting board. So I'm back, and I've lowered the camera so you can see what I'm going to be working with here. First of all, I'm going to have this for later. That I mentioned when we did the video about steaks that sometimes people use salad dressing, and that's fine. And so this is like the only thing I use this with. I use olive oil for everything else. And I don't use much of this. I'll explain that in a little bit. Second, I'm going to use toothpicks, and that's to hold this on. This is bacon. I don't think that requires any explanation. So here's what I'm going to do first. I'm going to open the toothpicks and dump some out. That way I don't touch the box with deer-blooded hands later. But I'm going to dump a few out, and probably way more than I need. So there are those for later when I wrap bacon around this stuff. And then I'll put these up in a little bit. But the first thing I got to do is trim the junk that I don't want off of the meat. And these guys, they do want it. And so once she smells deer, she doesn't leave the kitchen. And the other one, which is Jolene, the little brown and white hound dog, she'll be here soon, I'm sure, once she hears already chewing something. All right, so let's start trimming. This stuff right here, if you can see this little line that's going through here, it's kind of weird because it doesn't go right across. You cannot get it all because it goes down in between two little lobes of this muscle. So we're going to just do our best and get as much out as we can. It's not bad for you. You can eat it. It's just kind of chewy. And you don't want to get much meat on there if you can. That's why you use a fillet knife. And I've already screwed it up, but that's okay. And when I get done with that, it goes right here. So she's a happy dog, and I don't have to waste anything. I'm going to keep doing this. I'm probably not going to show all this when I actually do the video. I'll probably cut away or fast forward or something like that. Sit. Sit. Good girl. And right on cue. You're late, woman. Sit. It's like having a seal in the house without water. The trained kind, not the Galapagos kind. Sit. Sit. So remember, there's no real way to decide, okay, I'm done, I've got it all. You can't get it all. As soon as you think you've got it all, you'll find more. Sit. Oh, you're already sitting. Good girl. They have such expectations. It's a beautiful thing. So when I get enough of this off that I'm satisfied, I'm just going to flip it over. Sit. You're already sitting. Oh, you missed. Flip it over and get the same kind of stuff off of the other side. On this side, it was a very fat deer. Actually, when I was butchering it, got a bunch of it off already. but he was a big one, and he had been eating well. Like this right here is really hard to get. You can, but you see there's two muscles you can't see that. So right here you see there's two different muscles that kind of slide together, and this stuff is in between them so that they can slide together. And so it's pretty much impossible to get that out. And so some of it you're just going to have to leave. Sit, girl. Thank you. And once you get this stuff as trim as you want to get it, which that's going to be fine for me right now. I might yank some more of that stuff off later. Some of it will cook away, but not as much of it as if you were doing normal steaks, because we're wrapping it in bacon, and that'll keep some of it in there. Sit, JoJo. Good girl. So after I got that, I'm gonna just kind of size up some bacon and cut it a little thicker than the bacon into little sections like this, right across the grain of the meat. So you get these little sections and they'll stack up nicely there. I was trying to think of what this would be called if it was from a cow. It would be much bigger if it was from a cow, but I can't remember. I used to know. I want to say it's sirloin, but I'm not 100% sure. You have to remember that I have a humanities degree. I am neither a butcher nor a medical doctor, nor am I really that steeped in anatomy, because I didn't take but the one biology class in college. And so don't expect me to know every single thing about every single animal that we cut up. I'm just not going to. Now, here is something I need to tell you about toothpicks. So I make these a lot for different functions because they're easy to eat. Most people kind of like them, even if they're not really big on deer. And so a lot of times I'll bring them to parties, or I'll have them if we have someone over that I know is not going to be disgusted by the thought of eating venison. And one time when we did this, I was talking to a couple who was going to get married, and we were celebrating their love for one another and all that. And so the young man who she had brought for me to meet, because it's a family friend, ate like 3 of these. And after he got done, he said they're kind of tough in the middle. And the problem was he was eating toothpicks. So you just remind someone, or what I do is I've now, since he taught me this, is after I, JoJo, aren't you next? Oh, are you next? Okay. You walk away, that happens. What I do now is after I cook them, I let them cool a little bit, and I take the toothpicks out of all of them. And that is now called the Dustin Dean rule. So anyway, just be warned, and if you're going to serve these to other people, warn them, because sometimes you can't see the toothpicks after they're cooked very well. Sit, JoJo. Sit. I'm going to give it to her if you just... Okay. You got to sit when I tell you to. So be careful for toothpicks. Sit. There you go. That's a good girl. All right, I'm back. And next thing we're going to do is we're going to wrap bacon, which I'm pointing to, but you can't see, around these things. We have them all cut in little chunks like this. And so that's going to make quite a few of them. But before we do that, I'm going to show you this ingredient, which I've talked to you about before.
I'm naked.
You're not naked, you got underwear on. And for some reason you're riding a stuffed snake. I'm going to put this in the bottom of this bowl, because the bacon is going to hold the moisture in the sides as I wrap it around. But on the top and bottom, you have a place where moisture can escape. And so we use vegetable oil, which does the same thing that I use olive oil for. And generally I prefer olive oil, but for whatever reason with this, I like the spices that are in house Italian dressing. It doesn't have to be, if you want to do this at home or whatever, you don't have to use the exact same kind I use, whatever you like. And what I'm going to do, and what I have just done, is I'm lining the bottom of that. So when I set them down, I'll put them in there and flip them over, and so they'll be ready. And it really only takes a little bit. If you put too much, this is a warning, if you put too much, you can end up with a grill fire. So be careful with that. And we'll talk about this later, but you want to keep the heat low and grill it for the same amount of time that we did the steaks that we did earlier, 7.5 minutes. So now let's put bacon on these. So the thicker the bacon that you use, the better it is. But I just used what I could find because we were in the mad meat rush when I bought this of the coronavirus. So I just used, like I said, exactly what I could find. If you have smaller pieces, you can cut the bacon in half. And again, you don't have to. What's up, buddy? Oh my goodness. Your snake's eyes are doing weird things. You trying to hypnotize me?
Yes.
Like that cat in the Jungle Book? Well, it's not a cat. Alright, so you wrap it in bacon. This is not that intricate of a thing. And shove a toothpick in. I like to make sure that the toothpick goes in on both sides. It really just needs to hold it. The reason that I like to have it on both sides is so that after it's been cooked, if one side burns off, I still have something to grab onto and pull it out later. So if you notice, the bacon is just about the perfect size to go around it. There's a little bit of meat showing up on the top and the bottom. And if you don't have some meat on the top and the bottom, then the bacon's just going to shrink and end up kind of closing around it. Now, some people like it that way. I don't, but you are you and I am me, and we're different, and that's fine. So what you didn't see is when I set this in there, I sat one side down and then I flipped it so that coats the top and the bottom with the Italian dressing. I still don't think you could see that, but I did my best. Next, and I'm just going to keep on going through this until I'm done. Some of the thin ones like this are a little irritating to work with because you can't really see what you're doing. But they still taste good, so it doesn't matter. I like to stretch the bacon before I put it on there. And I don't really know why I do that, but I do. And I always have. This one is a problem. This is one that I ran out of room and ended up cutting too thin. So when I get to this one, I'm going to save it to the end. If I don't have any bacon left, I'm just going to coat it in juices and put it on the grill. If I do have a lot of bacon left, then I'm just going to probably go across it this way and stack it between two other ones. And that's the cure for when you run out of room and don't have enough room to be thick enough to go wider than bacon. So now we've reached our problem medallion, chunk piece of meat here. And as I'm looking at it, it's fairly thick, even though it's just not quite thick enough. So I am going to wrap it like normal. But every now and then you get one that's really thin, and you would just wrap it the other way. But this one's actually going to work out fine. So we're going to go ahead and do it the normal way. The snake at me again. You got untied. Congratulations, Snakey.
She's not trying to do that.
Trying to hypnotize me with his tail. Alright, I'm going to throw some trash away and I'll be right back to give you the next set of instructions, which has to do with this guy right here. So here we have 2 rows of these stacked up. Now the bottom of these are coated with this because of when I put the first ones in and flipped them. So now the tops and bottoms were coated. I put the bottoms of these on top of those, so they're flipped.
Instant replay!
Gideon, so now I have these. There's 2 layers of them. And if you remember, when I put the first layer in, I put them down, dipped them in this stuff, and then flipped them over. So when I put these in, the bottoms of these are now coated because they're sitting on top of the ones that are under them. Which means the last thing we have to do with this is to just put a little bit on the top of these and we're ready for the grill. Again, not very much. I guess it would make more sense to brush it on, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to put a little bit on there and I'm going to use my finger to spread it around. Remember, if you put too much on, you are running the risk of getting a grill fire, which you're already running the risk of because it's bacon. And you don't want them charred because they taste awful if they get charred. So these are now ready to go on the grill. And we'll see you downstairs. All right, I'm back and now I'm at the grill and it's preheated way too hot because it got a little crazy and the boy wanted something, so I had to take care of that first. But so I'm turning it down and letting some of the heat out. Remember, we talked about this last time, that I use the grill. Once you're cooking, close the stinking lid. Now, here's all you need for this part of this. You need these things. I don't know what they're called, tongs, the grabber things, and you need a plate, and that's to put your stuff on when it's done. And of course, you need these. Now they came out looking pretty good. You can see the spices from the whatever it's called, salad dressing, are floating around on there, looking good, ready to go on the grill. I am going to probably not cook it as long as I normally would because the grill got so hot, because I left it running trying to build some heat and ended up building too much heat. All we do, it's very simple. You put them on venison side down, not bacon side, venison side down. And while they're cooking, I'm actually going to stick around because I do not want a fire. What happened to me on Super Bowl Sunday is I wanted to make a bunch of these, and I was so excited about them. I did not care about the game itself that much, but I was very excited about the food. And when I went to go eat them, or when I went to go get them off the grill, they were all charred and ruined, and so it was a bad day. But I don't want that to happen again. So where I normally will just leave them cooking and walk off somewhere, this time I'm going to stick around. And Artie said she's going to stick around too, just in case something needs to be cleaned up off the ground. One thing about these is, now if I cut them really thick, and that's because I like my meat rare or medium rare. I don't really know which is which, but one thing about these is you cook them essentially based on just the thickness that they are. If you want them to be well done, cut them thinner and just put them on for the same amount of time. Alright, I got the grill closed and I'm going to set my timer, and then while they're cooking I'm going to turn you off, and then I'll come back to you later. Alright, what you can probably hear, if you can, I'll just show you. My timer is going off, which means now it's time to flip these guys. And so, while I'm doing that, I'm going to put hot dogs on the grill because the boy wants hot dogs. And so I'm going to cook them at the same time. We were able to do this without any flare-ups, and that's great. And even though I was worried about it the whole time, but just talking to y'all with the lid off for a little bit, had most everything, had it cooled down enough. When I flip them, you can see what they'll look like when they're done. The bacon will be different when they're done, but there it is. So I'm going to flip them. That's going to cause flare-ups. That's not good, obviously. And so what I'll do, I'll dump the grease off where there's already a flare-up, and then go ahead and turn that. This timer's getting a little bit annoying, so I'm going to turn that off. 6 minutes is what I did because the grill was so hot. But as I do the other side, I'm going to put it on for 7 minutes, which is what I usually do. About 7.5 is actually what I usually do, because I'm usually upstairs. The timer goes off. It takes me about 30 seconds to get down here. As you flip them, you want to be careful to not let them roll on their side, which that one threatened to do. And make sure that if you put the sort of thicker ones towards the middle, so they kind of get done more consistently, which is what I just did by moving those. So the ones that are more done, like that one, I'll move to the outside, and the ones that need to be more done, I'll put on the inside. As we do this, what you can't tell is it smells delicious. It makes you hungry. And while I'm talking about it, I'm going to talk about something else. Another thing, my tongue just got caught in the bacon. We're going to have an unwrapping situation here. Not good. As I'm doing this, I'm going to tell you one other thing you can do. Instead of using individual toothpicks, you can use skewers. And when you do that, it makes it really hard to flip, but it is faster. So like, if you can get it to flip and not burn yourself, it does go faster. What you can also do is you can put mushrooms and pineapples between them, and it's incredible. So there's something you can think about. it's time to close this, but you know, like I told you, you got to put hot dogs on here first for my son. All right, so my timer is going off, as you can probably hear, and so it's time to check them out. Once again, we avoided flare-ups. Before I start getting these off, I probably need to do something with these hot dogs so that they don't burn. Just roll them around. We're going to investigate one of these. I'm going to choose to investigate the one that's already been had the bacon start coming off, because I'm going to take off some bacon and let you see what it looks like inside. So, other than burning my hands, what you'll see is the bacon, it kind of protects it from getting burnt. So, but it helps it cook. It locks the moisture inside. I don't know if you can see that or not, but you see it's all drippy and wonderful. That's because the bacon grease serves the same purpose as what olive oil or vegetable oil does. So what you end up with is this, and it's delicious. It looks okay, but it tastes wonderful, and so does this. If you noticed, this grill is about your standard grill, and one backstrap covers the whole thing. So if you're trying to think of, you know, how many does that feed, however many burgers you can fit on a standard 4-burner grill, that's how many of these guys one backstrap makes. So those, you know, one half of the backstraps that you get from one deer. Trying not to burn myself on the plate itself. But that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Bacon wrap backstraps, delicious. I hope you enjoy.